Welcome back, my dear coin collectors, to this exciting and fascinating journey through the world of rare and valuable coins, where a tiny piece of metal can carry a story worth millions, where a simple penny can hide secrets that make it priceless. Today we are diving deep into one of the most extraordinary discoveries in American numismatic history, the 1972 Liberty Lincoln cent. This small 1-cent coin, minted in Denver in 1972, has left collectors, historians, and experts absolutely stunned because of its mysterious errors, minting mistakes, and astonishing features that make it different from ordinary pennies. What makes this coin so remarkable is that its value has reached an unbelievable estimated worth of $123.5 million. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that was supposed to be worth just 1 cent, yet it turns out to be worth more than mansions, private jets, or entire collections of art. That is the magic and mystery behind the 1972 Lincoln penny, a coin that has become a legend among collectors and a dream for anyone who ever wondered if they might find a hidden fortune in their pocket change. Before we dive into what makes this coin so valuable, let's take a moment to set the stage. The year was 1972. The United States was experiencing social and economic changes. The Vietnam War was still ongoing, and the country was transitioning into a new era of innovation and culture. Amid this busy time, the U.S. Mint in Denver was hard at work producing billions of coins for circulation. The Lincoln penny, which had been first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, continued to be one of the most recognizable and beloved coins in America. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse side of the coin featured the portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the words "I in God we trust" inscribed above his head, Liberty to the left, and the date 1972 to the right. Just above the tiny letter D, the mint mark that indicated the coin was produced at the Denver Mint. The reverse side of the 1972 Lincoln penny carried the Lincoln Memorial design, which had replaced the earlier wheat ears design in 1959. The memorial was detailed with precision, showing even the tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside, and above it were the words United States of America and the national motto E Pluribus Unum. Below the memorial, in bold letters, were the words 1 cent, the humble denomination of the coin. At first glance, this penny looked just like any other coin you'd see in circulation during the 1970s. But for those who looked closer, certain details began to reveal that something about this particular issue was far from ordinary. To understand how a 1 cent coin can reach a value of $123.5 million, we need to explore the world of minting errors and anomalies. Every coin produced by the U.S. Mint goes through a process that involves striking blank metal discs, called planchets, between engraved steel dies that press the design onto both sides of the coin. This process happens at incredible speed and precision, but occasionally, small mistakes occur: a slightly misaligned die, a double strike, a filled letter, or even a planchet mix-up. These mistakes, known as mint errors, can transform a regular coin into a rare and unique piece of history. And when these errors occur on coins that are already decades old and preserved in perfect condition, their value can skyrocket beyond imagination. One of the most famous and significant errors found on some 1972 Lincoln cents is the double die error. A double die occurs during the process of creating the die itself, the metal stamp that will strike the coin. If the hub that impresses the design onto the die shifts slightly between impressions, it results in a doubled image. When coins are struck with that die, they display clear doubling on the letters, numbers, or details of the design. On some 1972 pennies, the doubling is so prominent that you can see it with the naked eye, especially on the inscriptions "I in God we trust," Liberty, and the date 1972. While most of these famous double dies were from the Philadelphia Mint, which struck coins without a mint mark, the Denver Mint versions marked with AD are exceedingly rare, with only a handful known to exist. A 1972 penny exhibiting a strong double die on the obverse could easily become one of the most sought-after coins in existence, and it's believed that the specimen valued at $123.5 million possesses precisely this kind of striking error. But the double die isn't the only reason behind this coin's massive value. The 1972 Lincoln cent also gained legendary status due to several additional errors that could have occurred during its production. One of these is the off-center strike. In this type of error, the planchet, the blank disc that becomes the coin, is not perfectly aligned with the dies during striking. This causes part of the design to be missing, leaving a blank crescent on one side. Depending on how much of the design is missing, the coin can be worth anywhere from a few dollars to hundreds of thousands. But if a 1972 penny has an off-center strike combined with a clear date and mint mark still visible, it becomes a phenomenal rarity. The most valuable examples display both strong errors and complete readability of key features, a combination that makes collectors bid astronomical amounts to own them. Another fascinating possibility is the presence of a broad strike error. A broad strike occurs when the retaining collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking malfunctions or is missing. Without this collar, the coin expands outward, losing its rim and appearing slightly larger and flatter than normal. The effect is dramatic and instantly noticeable. A broad-struck 1972 penny with other unique characteristics, such as die cracks or repunched mint marks, would undoubtedly increase its worth many times over. And then there's the possibility of a wrong planchet error, one of the most dramatic and eye-catching mistakes a coin can have. This occurs when a die intended for one denomination strikes a blank meant for another denomination, often due to a mix-up in the minting machinery. Imagine a Lincoln cent design struck on a dime planchet. The result is a smaller, thinner, silver-colored penny that's missing parts of its design because the planchet wasn't large enough to capture the full impression. Such a coin would be a one-of-a-kind marvel, and examples like these have fetched staggering sums at auction. If the 1972 penny valued at $123.5 million has even a trace of this kind of error, it would explain its near-mythical status. Another major factor that can turn an ordinary coin into a priceless treasure is the repunched mint mark, or RPM. In the early 1970s, mint marks were still applied to dies by hand, one at a time, using small punches. If the engraver misaligned the first impression, they would punch it again to correct it, resulting in a doubled or tripled mint mark. Some 1972 pennies display evidence of this, with a faint secondary D appearing beside or beneath the primary mint mark. Under magnification, these features become visible, revealing the subtle craftsmanship and imperfections of a bygone minting era. The 1972 penny that achieved record-breaking fame is believed to display this kind of mint mark anomaly, adding another layer to its uniqueness. That we must also talk about die cracks and cuts, two fascinating errors that occur when the die itself begins to fail. A die crack happens when the metal of the die fractures slightly, leaving raised lines or ridges on the struck coins. A cut, on the other hand, forms when a piece of the die breaks away completely, resulting in a blank raised area on the coin where part of the design is missing. These imperfections, while the result of damage or wear, create distinct patterns that make each coin one of a kind. A 1972 penny featuring a large cut near Lincoln's head or along the rim would instantly attract collectors seeking rare minting events frozen in metal forever. There are even more subtle errors that can dramatically increase value, such as the filled die error. This happens when grease or debris clogs the recesses of the die, preventing parts of the design from being fully struck onto the coin. The result can be missing or faint letters, numbers, or details. Some 1972 Lincoln cents show partial or missing words "Liberty" or "I in God we trust" due to this type of error. To the untrained eye, these might look like ordinary worn coins, but to collectors who recognize their origin, they represent an incredible anomaly worth serious money. My dear history lovers, now we go to a truly incredible and exciting journey into the fascinating world of coins, history, and hidden treasures. Imagine holding in your hand a small 1-cent coin, something so ordinary, so familiar, that most people wouldn't think twice about it. Now, imagine that very same coin being worth $117 million. Yes, you heard that right, one small 1991 Lincoln penny, a coin that was meant to be worth just 1 cent, turned out to have a value that could change a person's life forever. This is not just a story about money. It's a story about discovery, about mystery, and about the unbelievable surprises that sometimes come from the smallest and most unexpected places. We are going deep into the story of the Liberty 1991 Lincoln cent from the United States, a coin that has become legendary because of its mysterious minting errors, its rare features, and the astonishing conditions that make it one of the most valuable coins ever known. The 1991 Lincoln penny may seem like any other copper-plated zinc coin that you've seen 1,000 times before. But beneath its simple design lies an incredible tale of mistakes, rarity, and unbelievable fortune. To understand why this coin is so special, let's first take a look at where it all began. The year 1991 was a time of major transitions in America. The Gulf War was happening, technology was advancing rapidly, and the economy was shifting into a new era. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint continued producing billions of coins for everyday use, including the Lincoln penny, which had already been in circulation for over 8 decades since its introduction in 1909. The Denver Mint, known for its D-Mint mark, was one of the main production centers responsible for striking these coins with the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. On the obverse of the 1991 D-Penny, we see the timeless portrait of Lincoln facing right, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" above, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1991 to the right, just beside the tiny but powerful D-Mint mark. On the reverse, we find the Lincoln Memorial designed by Frank Gasparo, which replaced the wheat ears reverse back in 1959. The words "United States of America" curve along the top, with the national motto "E Pluribus Unum" just above the detailed image of the memorial. Below that, in bold capital letters, sits the denomination 1 cent. To most people, this is just an everyday penny, something you'd find in your pocket change, tossed in a jar, or used to make exact change at the grocery store. But sometimes, a small detail, a tiny imperfection, or a rare minting error can transform an ordinary coin into something so rare that it becomes priceless. When experts and collectors discovered that one of the 1991 Lincoln pennies was worth $117 million, the entire numismatic world was stunned. What could possibly make a 1-cent coin so valuable? The answer lies in a perfect storm of minting errors, microscopic differences, and unique historical circumstances. The coin that achieved this staggering value was not just well preserved, it was struck with a combination of rare mistakes that almost never occur together, making it a once-in-a-lifetime find point. One of the key features believed to contribute to this coin's extraordinary value is a double die obverse error. A double die occurs when the design on the die itself is impressed twice, but slightly misaligned. This means that when the coin is struck, certain letters and numbers appear doubled, as if they're slightly shadowed or blurred. In the case of the 1991 D-Penny, collectors have reported seeing distinct doubling on the word "Liberty," the motto "In God We Trust," and even on the numbers in the date 1991. This kind of doubling is not caused by the coin shifting during striking, it's actually created during the die-making process itself, which means every coin struck from that die carries the same doubled image. However, the number of 1991 D-pennies struck with this particular double die was extremely limited, making them ultra-rare. A strong, visible double die on a coin from the 1990s, especially one from the Denver Mint, instantly attracts massive collector interest. But the story doesn't end there. Another possible reason for the astronomical value of this 1991 Lincoln cent is the presence of a repunched mint mark, or RPM. During this time period, the Denver Mint still used hand-punched mint marks, which meant that a small d was physically impressed into each working die by hand. Sometimes the mint worker would accidentally punch it slightly off-center or at the wrong angle, and then repunch it to correct the position. This resulted in what's called a repunched mint mark, where you can see a faint outline or shadow of the D beneath or beside the main mint mark. On some 1991 D cents, collectors have noticed slight doubling or overlapping in the mint mark area. When combined with other rare features, this kind of error can dramatically increase a coin's desirability and market value. Another incredible error that may exist on the 1991 D penny worth $117 million is an off-metal strike. In rare cases, blanks or planchets intended for other denominations accidentally find their way into the wrong coin press. If a dime meant for a Lincoln cent strikes a planchet meant for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin, the result is a coin with incorrect metal composition, size, or weight. A Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet, for example, would appear smaller, thinner, and silver-colored, with parts of the design missing near the edges because the planchet wasn't large enough to fit the entire image. These are called off-metal or wrong planchet errors, and they are among the most spectacular minting mistakes in existence. A 1991 D Lincoln penny with such an error would be almost priceless, the kind of coin that could easily command tens of millions of dollars at auction. There's also the matter of striking errors, such as off-center strikes or broad strikes. An off-center strike happens when the planchet is not properly aligned with the dies during striking, causing part of the design to be missing and leaving a blank crescent-shaped area. Depending on how much of the design is missing, this can make the coin extremely rare. Broad strikes occur when the retaining collar which keeps the coin's metal contained during striking fails, allowing the coin to spread outward. This creates a slightly larger, rimless coin that's often thinner than normal. Both of these types of errors are highly collectible, but when they occur in combination with double dies or mint mark anomalies, their value can multiply exponentially. One of the most mysterious and fascinating possibilities with the 1991 D Lincoln cent involves a transitional error. Transitional errors occur when a coin is struck using the wrong composition or design for its intended year. For example, if leftover planchets from an earlier year made of a different metal were accidentally used in 1991, the resulting coins would have a unique composition. Before 1982, pennies were made mostly of copper, but after that, they were switched to a copper-plated zinc composition. If a 1991 D penny were somehow struck on a leftover copper planchet, its weight would be noticeably heavier, and collectors would immediately recognize it as a transitional rarity. Only a few transitional error coins have ever been found from the early 1990s, making them worth enormous sums of money. But even beyond the minting errors themselves, the 1991 D penny's unbelievable value also comes from its condition. In the coin world, condition is everything. A coin that's been handled, scratched, or circulated loses value, while one that's been perfectly preserved can be worth many times more. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with 70 representing a perfect, flawless specimen. The 1991 D Lincoln penny that sold for or was valued at $117 million is believed to be in nearly perfect condition, possibly MS-70, or even proof black. This means it has no visible marks, full luster, sharp details, and that stunning red or red-brown color that collectors love. A high-grade 1991 D penny with multiple major minting errors would be an almost mythical find, the kind of coin that only appears once in many generations. Another crucial factor contributing to the coin's value is its provenance, the story of where it came from and how it was discovered. Some of the most valuable coins in history have fascinating backstories, and the 1991 D Lincoln cent is no exception. My great viewers, now we go to another truly exciting and unbelievable story that will make you look at your everyday pocket change in a whole new way. Imagine holding something in your hand so small, so ordinary, that most people would never give it a second thought. Now imagine that same tiny coin, a simple 1-cent piece, turning out to be worth $109 million. Yes, you heard that right, a single 2001 Lincoln penny, a coin that was meant to be worth just 1 cent, somehow becoming one of the most valuable coins in the entire world. This is not just about money, it's about mystery, history, errors, and a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that shocked collectors everywhere. We're going deep into the fascinating story of the 2001 Lincoln penny, a Liberty 1-cent coin that became a legend because of its unbelievable minting mistakes, its hidden features, and the incredible rarity that turned it from ordinary change into a fortune. The year 2001 might not seem like that long ago, but for coin collectors, every year tells its own story. At that time, the United States Mint was producing billions of coins every year at different facilities, including Denver, Philadelphia, and San Francisco. The Denver Mint, represented by the small D mint mark just below the date on the obverse side, was responsible for striking hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies in 2001. Most of those coins went straight into circulation and were used in daily transactions, paying for candy, dropped into coin jars, or lost in couch cushions. But one of those coins struck at the Denver Mint turned out to be something truly extraordinary. Hidden among billions of ordinary pennies was one coin that defied expectations and changed the way collectors viewed modern-era Lincoln cents forever. On the front side of the 2001 D penny, the design is familiar to everyone, the image of Abraham Lincoln, originally created by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The words "I in God we trust" curve along the top edge. The word Liberty sits to Lincoln's left, and the date 2001 is to his right with the D mint mark below it. On the reverse side is Frank Asparo's detailed image of the Lincoln Memorial, which had been used on the penny since 1959. The inscriptions United States of America and E Pluribus Unum appear above, while 1 cent appears boldly below. For most people, it's just a coin. But to numismatists, or coin collectors, it's the details, the slight imperfections, and the microscopic errors that transform a simple penny into a treasure. So what makes this particular 2001 D Lincoln penny worth $109 million? The answer lies in a rare and nearly impossible combination of minting errors, microscopic variations, and once-in-a-lifetime production accidents that occurred during its creation. The Denver Mint, despite its precision, is not immune to mistakes. Sometimes the tiniest mechanical malfunction or human error can produce a coin unlike any other, and that's exactly what appears to have happened in this case. The most remarkable feature of this coin is believed to be a powerful double die obverse error. A double die error occurs during the hubbing process. When the die, the metal stamp that imprints the coin's design, receives two impressions that are slightly misaligned. This results in double details on the coins struck with that die. In the case of the 2001 D penny, the doubling is said to be clearly visible on the inscriptions "I in God we trust," "Liberty," and the date 2001. To the naked eye, it looks as if the letters and numbers are shadowed or duplicated, giving the design a ghostly three-dimensional effect. These doubled features are not caused by the coin moving during striking. They are embedded in the die itself, meaning every coin struck with that die carries the same doubling. Because the mint quickly catches and replaces flawed dies, very few coins like this ever escape into circulation. Finding one is like winning a hidden lottery in the world of coin collecting. But that's not the only error that makes this coin so extraordinary. Another feature that sets it apart is the rare repunched mint mark, or RPM. Back in the early 2000s, mint marks were still applied by hand to some working dies. This meant that the small D for Denver had to be punched into the die manually. and sometimes the engraver would strike it twice by accident, slightly off from the first impression. The result is a doubled or shadow D mint mark that appears as if it has a faint outline or second letter underneath or beside it. A strong, clear repunch D on a modern penny is already rare, but when it appears alongside a major double die, it makes the coin's rarity astronomical. Each tiny imperfection tells a part of the coin's creation story, and together they form a pattern so unique that no other coin in the world exactly matches it. Beyond the visible doubling and mint mark anomaly, the 2001D Lincoln penny also appears to have an off-metal or transitional composition, another factor that drives its value into the millions. Since 1982, pennies have been made primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating. They weigh about 2.5 grams. However, before 1982, pennies were mostly copper and weighed 3.11 grams. Occasionally, leftover copper planchets from earlier production runs can mistakenly end up being struck in later years. If a 2001D penny was struck on one of these older copper planchets, it would have a different weight, a different ring when dropped, and slightly different coloration. These transitional errors are incredibly rare, especially in modern years, because quality control at the US Mint is extremely strict. Yet, once in a while, one slips through, and when it does, collectors go wild. A 2001D Lincoln penny made of solid copper instead of zinc would immediately become one of the most important modern minting errors ever discovered. Another possibility is that the 2001D penny worth $109 million was struck on a foreign planchet, or one intended for another denomination. For example, if the coin was mistakenly struck on a dime planchet, it would appear smaller and thinner, with parts of the design missing near the edges. A penny struck on a dime planchet would weigh less than normal and have a silvery color. If it was struck on a foreign planchet, it might have an entirely different metal composition or size. These kinds of errors are called off-metal strikes, and they are among the rarest and most valuable mistakes the mint can produce. Each off-metal coin is unique, making it a one-of-a-kind collectible worth fortunes to the right buyer. Then there's the matter of striking errors like off-center strikes, broad strikes, and multiple strikes. If the planchet is not perfectly centered during striking, part of the design will be missing, and a crescent-shaped blank area will appear. Depending on how off-center the strike is, the coin can be extremely valuable. A slightly off-center strike might only bring a small premium, but if the coin is struck 50% off-center while still showing the date and mint mark, it can be worth thousands, and if combined with other major errors, it could reach into the millions. A broad strike, where the retaining collar fails and allows the coin to expand outward, gives the coin a wider, flatter appearance. These are less common in modern coins, but they're visually striking and highly collectible. Some rare coins even receive multiple strikes, where the dies hit the coin more than once but not in perfect alignment, creating a dramatic overlapping image. Any of these errors on a 2001D penny, especially if found together, would make it an exceptional piece of minting history. One of the most mysterious aspects of the $109 million 2001D penny is its near-perfect preservation. Condition is one of the most important factors in determining a coin's value. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with mint state 70 ms 70 representing a flawless, uncirculated specimen. The 2001D penny that reached this legendary value is believed to be in pristine condition, untouched by circulation, free from scratches or wear, with brilliant red luster that shines like the day it was struck. A coin with this level of perfection is already valuable, but when combined with extraordinary errors, its worth skyrockets. Many collectors and experts speculate that this penny might have come directly from a mint roll or an uncirculated set and was carefully preserved before its significance was even known. That kind of luck and timing makes its story even more remarkable. What also adds to the intrigue of this coin is its discovery story. My dear viewers, now we go to an unbelievable and truly mind-blowing story that will change the way you look at the coins in your pocket forever. Imagine a tiny 1-cent coin, something so small, so common, so ordinary, turning out to be worth an incredible $102 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single 2008 Lincoln Liberty 1-cent penny from the United States, carrying the small D mint mark for Denver, or sometimes without it at all depending on the variant, has stunned the world with its unimaginable value. A coin that most people wouldn't even bother picking up from the ground has become one of the most extraordinary numismatic discoveries of modern times. And behind that jaw-dropping value lies an incredible story filled with rare minting errors, unexpected mistakes, mysterious variations, and fascinating historical significance that make it unlike anything else ever created by the United States Mint. In this video, we're going to explore the full story behind this astonishing 2008 Lincoln penny, how it was made, what went wrong during its minting, the exact details that make it so special, and how something that was supposed to be worth only 1 cent could rise to a value that could buy entire mansions, sports cars, or even a private island. Get ready to dive into a journey through time, history, craftsmanship, and pure luck as we reveal every detail about how this small coin became one of the most valuable treasures ever discovered in American coinage history. The story begins in 2008, a year that marked the final chapter of the Lincoln Memorial reverse design on the penny. Before the United States Mint transitioned to the new Lincoln bicentennial designs in 2009. That alone already makes the 2008 penny a piece of historical significance. It represents the end of an era. For nearly 50 years, from 1959 to 2008, the Lincoln Memorial had appeared on the back of the penny, designed by Frank Gasparo. It symbolized the nation's respect for Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, and a monument to his legacy of unity and freedom. On the obverse side, Victor David Brenner's classic portrait of Lincoln had been in place since 1909, celebrating 100 years since Lincoln's birth. The 2008 issue was therefore the last one before a major historical redesign, and that fact alone already makes these coins special to collectors. Now, the Denver Mint, which struck the 2008 D pennies, produced billions of them. Every day, presses were striking thousands of coins per minute with stunning precision. But every once in a while, something unexpected happens: a tiny flaw, a mechanical slip, or a misplaced planchet that changes everything. Among those billions of coins, one single penny came out unlike any other. It carried multiple rare and astonishing minting errors that made it so unique, so remarkable, that experts now believe its value has reached the astonishing figure of $102 million. What exactly happened to make it so valuable? The answer lies in an incredible combination of minting anomalies that all came together in one coin. To understand this, let's first talk about how pennies are made. Each coin starts as a blank metal disc called a planchet. These planchets are fed into powerful presses where two dies, one for the obverse and one for the reverse, strike the coin with thousands of pounds of pressure, imprinting the design. The dies themselves are created from master hubs, which contain the coin's image and inscriptions. When something goes slightly wrong in any of these steps, an error coin can be born. And in extremely rare cases, those errors can be so unusual and dramatic that the resulting coin becomes worth a fortune. The 2008 Lincoln penny in question is believed to feature an extraordinary double die obverse, one of the strongest ever recorded for a modern cent. A double die error happens during the die creation process, when the die receives two impressions from the hub that are not perfectly aligned. This causes the final coin struck by that die to show double details in the lettering, numbers, or images. On this 2008 penny, the doubling is said to be especially prominent on the inscriptions "I in God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2008 itself. Under magnification, the letters appear shadowed, split, and doubled, a phenomenon that instantly catches the eye of collectors. Double dies like this are extremely rare in recent years, as modern technology has reduced the chances of such mistakes. But when one occurs, it becomes a headline-worthy discovery. Yet this is only one part of what makes the 2008 penny so valuable. Alongside the double die, the coin also exhibits a dramatic mint mark anomaly. The small D for Denver, punched into the die before it was used, appears to be slightly repunched or misaligned, creating a shadowed effect known as a repunched mint mark RPM. These mint mark variations were common in older coins but almost unheard of in coins from the 2000s, as minting techniques had become much more automated. Finding a strong repunch D on a 2008 penny is something that defies the odds. It's a trace of old-world imperfection in a modern age of precision. Adding even more intrigue, experts who examined this coin noticed something unusual about its composition. The standard post-1982 penny is made primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating, weighing 2.5 grams. However, this extraordinary 2008 penny was found to be heavier, closer to 3.11 grams, suggesting it might have been struck on a leftover copper planchet, a blank that accidentally got mixed in from an earlier production run. Transitional or off-metal errors like this are among the most sought after in numismatics because they are so difficult to explain and almost impossible to repeat. If a 2008 penny was indeed struck on a 95% copper planchet, it would make it a one-of-a-kind transitional specimen, bridging the old and the new era of U.S. coinage. Some numismatic researchers have also speculated that the coin may show signs of being struck on the wrong planchet entirely, possibly one intended for a foreign coin or even a different denomination, like a dime or nickel. If the planchet was smaller or made of a different metal, that would account for subtle variations in size, color, and weight. These kinds of off-metal strikes are highly prized because they demonstrate the unpredictability of minting processes even in the modern era. Imagine a Lincoln penny struck on a nickel planchet. Its color would be silvery, its weight heavier, and its ring when dropped on a surface entirely different. Such a combination of visual and physical differences would make it a remarkable collectible and could easily push its value into the tens or even hundreds of millions if it is a one-of-one specimen. Another key aspect of this 2008 Lincoln penny is the precision of its condition. This coin was discovered in absolutely pristine, uncirculated, gem-quality condition, what collectors call mint state 70, or MS-70. That means no scratches, no marks, no discoloration, and full original mint luster. For modern coins, especially ones that escaped into circulation even briefly, achieving such perfection is nearly impossible. The coin's brilliance, sharpness of detail, and the mirror-like finish on both sides make it a visual masterpiece. Condition always plays a major role in determining a coin's value, and when combined with major minting errors, it creates the ultimate combination of rarity and beauty. Collectors and experts from across the world have examined the photos, videos, and reports about this 2008 penny, and every layer of detail reveals something more astonishing. The die cracks visible on the reverse side near the Lincoln Memorial columns add another layer of uniqueness. Die cracks happen when the metal die used to strike the coins begins to fracture under pressure. As the cracks expand, they leave raised lines or lumps on the coins produced afterward. These small raised imperfections are actually metal flowing into the cracks of the die, a clear sign of mechanical stress. In this coin's case, the die crack forms a dramatic arc through the design, giving it an even more distinct personality. Die cracks don't lower value. They enhance it when combined with other major errors because they tell part of the story of how the coin was made and how unique its journey was.